hello, it's me. And it's me on the drawing too. That's one of the funny thing I found in the margin of one of my board that I'm going to be using for this presentation today. So if some of you are also storyboard artists in the chat, while people get here, I want to know what are the weird things that you found in your storyboard margin one day. And let me know into the chat, and I'm gonna read that. Yeah, for today, I used a old storyboard I did for a little job not too long ago, and yeah, when I opened it, I saw this on the side. And I was like, "That's funny." So yeah. Oh, I forgot to open the Twitch stream, so give me 1 second. I'm gonna open that so that I can check all of your comments. There we go. Okay, now I'm in both. Right, so welcome to this little stream on YouTube and on Twitch. We're everywhere. And today's stream will be about Storyboard Pro. I know I usually do Harmony, but hey, I also know how to use Storyboard Pro, so that's all good. I'm gonna do both. Yeah, so the theme of today will be teamwork, because storyboards usually are made by teams of multiple people. So we're going to cover how to import material in your board, how to share your brushes and your perspective guides with other people, and also how to split your project and share scenes amongst different people in the team, and how to use the validation tool that can be very helpful. So a stream wouldn't be a stream if there was no chat, so I hope that you guys are going to be present and asking questions and whatnot, because I have a plan, but it's always funnier when the plan gets derailed by all your amazing questions. So yeah, here we go. Yes, I'm going to show you this little thing I did. It's very simple. I had this little guy waving at the camera. I had a little overlay to make it look like it was a camera that was filming the whole thing. Basically, he's waving and someone's taking a picture. And then a fire bat comes and sets the guy on fire. And then he becomes ashes and he falls down the screen. And then it's game over. And then we see that he's just a pile of ash. And that little fairy thing comes in. And then they talk. And then there's a zoom and he says more stuff. Because like the fairy comes and then they're like, how does it feel to be a pile of ash or whatever? And then the thing is like, I am ready to start again, because it's a video game, so you can just relive when you get destroyed by a fire bat. And then they have a high five. See, that's what a storyboard should be. I know, like, if you go around Twitter these days, you see these amazing boards made by very talented people, and I'm not taking anything away from them. They're very talented, but I think sometimes we would need more of a reality check. Like, not every animatics or every storyboard needs to be this insane, almost like keyframed animation, right? A storyboard is there to tell a story. And usually if you have an animatic or a storyboard, when you're going to pitch your story, you will be able to pitch it to people and just explain, like, okay, well, the fairy comes in and then they talk and whatnot, and then you explain your idea. And storyboards are supposed to be very loose and rough, because if someone says, oh, I think instead of like being angry and all that, you should be able to take your character and like maybe instead of that it should be something else, like maybe it's actually looking like a sad or something. Oops, that's a very big brush. Like, yeah, maybe instead it's maybe it's sad. instead. So you should be able to like change your ideas on the fly. And if you overboard, oh, that's like a pun. Like if you go overboard and you overboard your storyboard, then it becomes harder for everyone to make change. Because when you work as a team, newsflash, in the industry, usually you have people making the boards, which are the drawings, and then you have somebody else doing the final edit. So if you have 15 drawings to showcase what's going on instead of 3, then it's 15 drawings that the editor have to punch in and like edit. And sometimes also if you polish your drawings too much, then it's hard because there's like style clash between the artists. And yeah, if you overproduce and overboard your storyboards, it's going to harm everyone down the pipeline. So always be mindful about that. So yeah, so I'm here today to remind you that storyboard needs to do its job, tell a story with boards. It's not supposed to be a rough animation. It's not supposed to be keyframed most of the time. So yeah, remember that boards are there to be loose, sketchy, but they still need to get you to the point. Because if you just have it, if instead of having this, my image was just like maybe like instead of having the old idea, maybe if my board was just this, like this is not okay. Like this is not a board either. This is like a thumbnail at most, because I'm missing a lot of information. Like what is the emotion that these characters are feeling, if I can call them characters? Like for your board to communicate to your team and your 15 drawings in frame per shot. No, that's way too much. Well, I mean, depends on how long is your shot, right? But yeah, so I think what is important is you want to be able to communicate to your team what's going on. And so like, at least like, you know, give it a face. Like, are they angry? Are they happy? Like if this one is angry or if it's happy, then there's a difference. And also we always recommend that if the style of your show have eyes with pupils, always try to include the whole eye, because sometimes in a board, this is going to look very good. But then when we try to animate it, then it's hard to know like what is the eye going to do and stuff. So people always recommend have at least drawing like the eyeball and the eye and the pupil to have like direction and tell the story. But in my case, like the character just doesn't have any eyes. It's just like 2 beads. Like it doesn't have a defined eye. So I was all good for that. And then, you know, you have to at least like give a little indication of where the body is, right? And for that guy also, like you need to give definition. And on top of that, you also need to set them in space somewhere. Like there's absolutely no idea what's going on here. And while it can work if you have 2 or 3 scenes in your show, which is never the case, it's always important to ground your characters somewhere, which is why even though this was a very simple project, it's always important to at least, like this was my thumbnail when I was thumbnailing. That's why it's so thick, because I usually thumbnail from very far away. And then I just scale it up. It's always important to have like a grid at least to know where your characters are standing. Because if I remove the grid, then it's a lot empty and there's nothing to kind of know where you are. So having a grid helps your whole team work with your scene, and it also helps everyone to ground your character in there. If you're new and you don't have a lot of experience and perspective scares you, well, you better learn it fast, because perspective is really important if you want to do boards. But I get you. Like I was a student before, I was a beginner. Like perspective used to scare me a lot. So it's always important to work with references. So if you have your character in a room and you don't know how to set the perspective, get it. Like back in my days, we would just take like a you know, the book that shops have, like IKEA, like could have like a book selling furnitures and whatnot. Like sometimes they have like pre-made kitchen, pre-made living rooms. So this can be a nice inspiration. But nowadays you have Google. You can just Google rooms and like use them for references and stuff. And on top of that, Storyboard Pro also have a guides view with lots of perspective guides that you can use. But, you know, these guides would only take you so far if you don't have any knowledge of how to use them. So it's always important to at least know what perspective is if you're going to walk into storyboard. And once you know what this is, this tool is going to be very helpful to help you draw in perspective. In my case, it was very simple. I just did my own line of horizon. I just did my own. Why can't I draw? Yeah, my own lines. It was simple. Right, so I'm gonna bring that back. So yeah, that was my little board. I thought I'd give some little explanation. Yeah, so then once this was done, this is a project I've done with one of my friends. He was responsible for doing like the BG works and whatnot. So I just gave him the scene after. So if you're gonna work with someone on a project, here's one very important thing that you can do. And even if you work with yourself, it's very important. Let's say that I wanted this scene to be animated. So when I'm done, you know, I'm going to go to File, Export. And there's a lot of exports that you can do, including export to Harmony. So this is usually when your project is done, you can just export everything to Harmony. It's going to create your scenes. This, I already talked about it in a lot of different streams, so I'm not going to cover it again. What I want to cover that I didn't cover yet is the export to layout. This is really important. It's also available in Harmony because sometimes we draw the layouts in Harmony instead of Storyboard Pro. Just depends on your project. Then export to layout. What it's going to do is it's going to take your layer or layers and turn them into a PSD that you can then open into any, well, most drawings painting software. Like not necessarily just Photoshop. It can be a lot of different ones that can take in PSDs. So, you know, you give it a name. I'm going to give it, I'm going to save it somewhere on my computer. I'm not going to show it inside of my computer. And, you know, I'm going to save it somewhere there and give it the name of the G or something. And then you can decide to have it as a JPEG or as a PSD. I like to have it as a PSD because then I can have multiple layers on it. And I forgot to take all my layers, actually. There we go. And then I'm going to export it as a Photoshop file. Boop. Perfect, perfect, perfect. There's a lot of options that you can choose. And I'm just going to work on my current scene. Then I will export it. And then there you go. You have a background made in, that you can then give to your artists. And it will have all the layers. And they can start to do their backgrounds from there. So yeah, export to layout is very great if you want to work with other teammates. And you can give them your Photoshop file. And I'm going to go check the chat if you guys have any questions. AL Art Stuff says that the follow button is not working for them. So, I don't know what's going on with this. And on YouTube, we have someone saying, hi, everyone. Thanks for the whole team for the streams. Well, I'm very happy that you're here too. Oh, we have from the first thing I asked. So weirdest thing I found on my storyboard margin, my memes. What products to buy in the market? Huh. After I finished my scene, it was a personal home project. Huh, that's kind of cool. Okay, so we don't have any more questions. Don't forget that you can ask questions in the chat, and I'm going to keep a lookout for them. Each time I finish a little topic, I can check it out and help you guys. Give me any general questions about Storyboard Pro. It doesn't have to be about teamwork or something. Okay, the other important thing when you work as a team is how to export and share brushes. So let's say that I make a cool brush for my project. Don't forget that you can always go to the brush menu right here. I call it the white page menu in your tool properties. And you can always go to export. And then you can just find the brush that you want to export. And you can always export that to your friends. And you can also find the stamps, which are very useful. If you go on my YouTubes or my Discord, I have this stamp as a giveaway that you can just download. It's very useful. It's a stamp that has a 16 9th grid, like a HD grid. I'm just going to show you quickly what it does here in the margin. I'm going to go grab my stamp. And here I have my grids. I have one that is just a grid that I can post to do my thumbnails. And the other one is a grid with like it's like a rectangle with a grid inside. And I can use that to do my thumbnailing. So usually when my process for doing storyboard is before I actually board the thing in the camera, I always have a panel where I just post a bunch of those like that. And that's what I use to just prepare my story. And this is very important, at least for me, because it's so easy, especially on the digital age, to get lost and start to animate instead of boarding. And this is a very, very big danger that everybody falls into. I worked in a school for a bit, and every student was like, I don't need to do the beat board like this. Like, I'll just start to board directly into the camera. And they always end up over animating their stuff, always. So that's why I always recommend to just start with some easy board, just to know where it's going to go. Like, okay, I have my pile of ashes there. Maybe I want to bring it a bit closer inside because the composition is not great. Or like, maybe this is a scene with like bushes, and in far away there's like a little house. See how much faster this is just to be sketching out your ideas. Like, if I don't like this and I'm like, oh, but I don't like the house like this, maybe I can do something else. Or I still have my bushes, but maybe the house can be a bit further away, and then the street goes like this instead. And like, it's so much quicker to do that. And then when you have a page, because you see all the ideas side by side, it's also, I think, easier to exchange and talk with your team. And this is, in my school, we used to call that beat boards. Maybe they're not that. And like, there's a lot of things you'll find that in the industry, that there's a lot of things on which no one agrees. So sometimes people are going to call these something else. Like, you can call that thumbnails. Actually, they're thumbnails. They are not beat boards. I am wrong. Sorry. They're called thumbnails. Silly French brain. So they are thumbnails. And yes, they're there just to communicate your idea. Usually at the thumbnail stage, you are there to explain what your idea is. You'll be like, okay, so the character comes in, and then there's this house, and then the character is like, oh my god, what is this house? And then he like flies away and becomes a bat or something. So this is just there to like lock in your composition and all that. And then once I found the ones I like, usually like identify them maybe, and then you take them and you scale them up and you put them in the camera, and then you start to actually board and make it beautiful in a way. So I thought I'd share, that was my little process. So when I work as a team, I do these little sheets, and I can talk to my team and exchange. And instead of having to go through my storyboard and make the change, it's just so quick, because then you see all your project at once, and you can be like, I kind of like this, but like, what if instead it was doing this thing and whatever. So yeah, pretty easy to work as a team with this. Okay, so back to the comments. I'm going to see if anyone has questions on what I just said. I don't think so. Oh, there's Rebecca in the chat. Yeah, it's a great stamp. I'm glad you like it. You can grab it on my Discord somewhere. Yeah. Okay, so another cool trick when you work with a team, on top of sharing your brushes and sharing your stamps, is you can also share your tool presets. So for those who don't know what tool presets are, I have a whole video on my channel about it, and we have also information in the documentations. So I'm going to share that right away. Give me 1 second. There we go. So they're called tool presets. If you don't know what they are, like I said, I have a video about it, and we have here the documentations. Oh, why can't I post? Well, I will ask my lovely coworker Janelle to post it in the chat because she's amazing. There you go. I sent it into the private message. Tool presets are pretty great because they allow you to make tools for your characters. And sometimes these tools, you can share them with your team. So the tool presets allow you to mix like a color and a tool together. So if you want to do that, you can just select your brush, select your color that you made. And then if you right click and you find your tool preset toolbar, boop, it's right there. Storyboard does come with basic ones that you can use, and they're very amazing. But if you want to make yours, you just select a brush, a color. So here for the pile of ashes, I'm always going to use this color to draw him. So I'm going to press on the plus sign. And then you have this window that opens, and you can decide to give it a name. So I'm going to call that the purple. And then I will give it maybe like an icon, or you can make your own icon if you want. And then here you have to decide if you want to keep the color or not, because sometimes you just want to have a brush, but not the specific color. So I do want my color. You can also click and have it create a layer. But if you wanted to create a layer, you have to have this layer available already. So you would have to make one. I don't want it to create a layer for the moment, so I'm not going to do it. You can also have it to draw behind. So if you want to make a brush that always draws behind, like to make your fills, that's also possible. And you can also set it to auto flatten if you want. I don't. I just want to get a color and a brush. That's all I want. And then each time, even if I have a completely different brush, like this one, if I want to get back to this one, the purple one, I can just click on this and I'm going to get the right thing like that. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. And then if you want to share them, you can just go to the gear. Just make sure you only have the one you want there. And then you can export them. Yeah, I just want to export this one. And you can export it to whatever you want on your computer. It's going to give you an XML that you can just import back in your board, and you can share that with your teammates. How amazing is that? Tell me in the chat if that's something you knew or not. If you already knew that, I'm sorry. Oh, we have a question here. Hello, Marie. Will you make a short animating or an extensive one? I don't know. What do you mean? Gaming Force 93, I don't get what you mean. Please explain. So these were the tool presets, and I hope that you like them. I sure do. I need to get myself around making my own custom icons. I think I'm going to do that if we have time at the end. Right, so I'm going to close this. Check the chat one last time. Okay, nothing to see. So I'm going to keep going. So another very important thing when you work as a team is to be able to present your story. So to present something, usually I always take my revision brush. The revision brush is great because sometimes if you click on it, you can also create layers and be like, oh, this character needs glasses. So that's by clicking on the revision brush, because it creates a layer called revision, which is kind of neat. So then you can just review your work. And if you review somebody else's work, the great thing is that instead of having a Google sheet where you kind of write what you changed and whatnot, you can just go into Storyboard, track changes, and activate the auto tracking mode. The auto tracking mode is pretty cool. I'm going to show you what it does. So if you look at my board here, I have my little panels. And if I go to Storyboard Track Change Auto Tracking mode, if I activate it, now if I do anything, so maybe if I click on my revision brush, you see my panel turned yellow. I'm going to show you again. Now it's gray. And now it's gray. If I click on anything and make a change, it turns yellow. It means that I have edited this panel. So then I'm going to be like, add party hat. Right there. So you need to add a party hat because why not? I love party hats. And then if I go, if I go elsewhere, and I go here and say, you forgot the party hat again, silly, be like, party. And now these panels turned yellow. So that's not it. That's not all. But even from the start, it means that whenever my friends open, I say friends, but it can also be a colleague. You don't have to be friends with all your colleagues, but it's sure is fun if you can be friends with your colleague, but like your colleague or your friend. And and you go to Storyboard and you go to Track Changes, and then you can go to Validate Changes. Whoop. This is used to validate what changes were made, but it's also used for you to communicate what the changes are. So you can be like, hey, can you please add the party hat? It would benefit the story immensely. I don't think that's an English word, but whatever. It would benefit the story. And then you go to the next one. You also forgot it there. But actually, do you think we should have a party hat or something? So you can also text in those. And I like to use those because then it prevents you from having to write into the storyboard view. You know, when you go to oh yeah, right. I have to click on those. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Now you're gonna see my background in my Jackbox games. There we go. Sorry, it always goes to the other screen when I do that. There you go. It prevents you from having to have a column here just for communications, which can sometimes be cumbersome because then it takes room for things that could otherwise be more useful. I have sinned. It was my own storyboard for a very quick project, so I didn't have time to fill these. But when you work in an industry, you always have to work with the dialogue, the action notes. This is very helpful because sometimes instead of having 5 drawings to show something, you can be like, the character does that in text, and sometimes it can be very useful. However, this is a double-edged sword. You cannot just draw one character and write in the text. Character walks, turns around, does 3 backflips, and lands on 1 toe. Like, no, like you at least need a few drawings to guide the animator, okay? But, you know, overproducing your storyboard is also a problem. So yeah, the validate track changes prevent, like, kind of makes you avoid to have to write into this section. So I'm going to go back to my storyboard from before. There it goes. Going to leave again. Oh, it stayed this time. Huh, interesting. Right, so I'm going to open this again and validate changes. And then when I'm done, I can just look back and see what this is. And you could also write your name. I'm going to write Mel says this. And then if I do this, and if I close it and I reopen it, I'm not going to do it because it takes time, but like if I closed it and reopened it, my friend or like the second person of the project would open their scene and they would also see the yellow things and be like, huh, I have either retakes or suggestions. I'm going to see what they are. And if the storyboard was 22 minutes long, like it is in the industry, it would be longer to just look by yourself to find the little spots. So that's why you can just go to storyboard, track changes, validate changes, boop, and then it's just going to walk you through the little things you have to fix. And sometimes it's not just retakes. Like I said, it can be like a discussion. So if I was the artist, I'd be like, okay, add party out. Okay, I did it. I'm not gonna write anything. But here, it like there was text. Maybe I can be like, my name is gonna be Paul, and I'll be like, oh, this is a great idea. I love party hats, and have 13 of them myself. Amazing. Right, and like you do your fixes, you add the party hat in. And depending on your people you work with, like sometimes you could just validate the changes yourself, but usually if your boss is making you have validate changes like that, you would just close the scene and then give it back. And if I was the person opening the scene, whoop, like from my colleague or employee or whatever, I'm like, oh, let's see if he fixed their thing. So I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna go back there and see. And if I see that the change was made, I'll be like, okay, yeah, validate. That's great. And then, oh yeah, okay, that's cool, validate. Or not, if it's not cool or something, but if it's validated, then it's not yellow anymore. So that's the storyboard, track change, auto tracking mode, and validate change things. I hope that was new. And I'm going to check the chat to see if you guys have any questions about it. I think we do. I've been loving the streams lately. Toon Boom. Well, thank you. I'm glad you like it, Bots and Magic. I love the little fire you're sharing. Give me Premiere vibes, which is my favorite movie. And then we have, this is so cool. Thank you for teaching me something new. Yay! I knew I was going to teach something new to someone. And let's check on YouTube's. Nothing new on YouTube. All right. Okay, we still have 20 minutes. Okay. We're good. The other thing that you can do to work as a team is to pitch your idea. Because once you've done the thumbnail part and you've done like kind of the rough and stuff and talked about your team, sometimes you need to pitch your idea to a bigger audience, maybe a room or something. And you can always do it from the interface. That there's no problem with that. But sometimes you want to, take it a step further, and if it's projected in a room, it can look better and whatnot. So you can go into the pitch mode workspace. So the workspaces are available right there on the top. And the one you want to check is the pitch mode. So whoop, it's going to do the weird thing again. It's going to go on my other screen, I think. Yeah, there you go. Why did you do that? Oh, crap. I can't share it. No. Okay, well, I can't show you on stream because it's always going to go to my other screen. But it creates a little pitch view that you can, like, show your idea in. And, yeah. Why does it do that? Oh, well. The one thing I wanted to say about the pitch view is that if you're in the pitch view and you want to leave it, I'll make you a drawing. Okay. So the pitch view looks something like this. So you're going to have your view. And then on the side, it'll look a lot like a PowerPoint presentation. So on the side, you're going to have your different panels that you can slide through. In the middle here, you have your camera. You can add something at the top. And on the other side here, you have your captions. So it's like a view that is just there to help you present. And what I really want to show you is that here there's another part that you can work in. And here somewhere there's a little door icon. This is where you click to leave. Because I know a lot of people open the page view and they're like, oh my God, I'm lost. And they kind of have a bad time. But don't worry, there's a little door here you have to click on. It's like a little... The icon looks something like a door with like arrows. It's kind of like leave. So yeah, so that's the pitch view. It's very useful to pitch your idea. I don't know why my computer doesn't want to show it. It's weird. It's never happened before. But hey, this is just the joys of streaming. It happens. Right. So I'm gonna erase this and go back because I'm not done. I have a lot of things to teach you today. Okay. Another thing that is important when you work as a team is to import files from someone else. So remember earlier I exported my PSD file. So then I'm going to make a new scene. And I will also go and stop the auto tracking mode. And I'm going to make a new scene by clicking here, new scene. Whoop. Oh, and you can see that my scenes alternate between pink and blue and pink and blue. I know the usual storyboard shows you light gray and dark gray, but that was not enough for me, so I did change the color. To do that, you go to Edit, Preferences on a PC. If you're on a Mac, it's in like Storyboard Pro and like Preferences and whatnot. And then you go there, Preferences. And if you go to Colors, you can change a lot of colors. And the Scene Group Box 1 and 2 is where I changed mine to pink and blue because then I can clearly see when it changes. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Then I'm going to press Cancel and go back. I totally forgot what I was about to say. Oh yeah, I made a new scene and I'm going to import the PSD file. Let's go, I got this. So you go to import and you can import images as scene or you can import them as clips. What is the difference in layers? What is the difference between all that? A clip is something you would put into a additional video track like we have here. So a video track would be one image that you have like as a background and on your panel, you have multiple panels. So that's why I have one image here, which is my little camera overlay. This is just spread across all my panels. And you can add as many video tracks as you want. You just right click here and you click and add new video track and whatnot. And then here you can just make your own empty clip and draw in it. Or like I was about to show you, you can also import PSD file of that. Or you can also import images as scenes, or you can import images as layer. But if you want to import as layer, you need to be into a, a panel. So I'm going to go here, import images as layer. And I'm going to go get the background I did right here. Then you go there. Boop. This image contains multiple layers. Do you want to import each layer separately? I'll say yes or no, depending on what you want. And there you go. Now I have my panels from before. Of course, like I'm doing this just for the stream. Usually if I re-imported them, the background would have been painted in any painting software that you want. But, that's how you would import your images from your buddies or something. And, there's many ways to import your images. So you can just work like that. Any questions about this? Let me check the chat. I think everybody's happy. That's great. Okay, so while we're here in the chat, if you want to tell me, how many of you here want to work in Storyboard or are actually working in Storyboards right now? I'm curious as of who is watching this. And in the meantime, I'm going to show you the other thing I wanted to show, which is if you need to give indications to anyone. So I did talk about the track change, but I forgot one important thing is on top of the track change, another way you can communicate with your pals is by leaving voice messages. So I'm going to do one right now. To do that, I'm going to make sure I have an audio track. I will make one here if I need to. but I already have one that is empty. I will remove the sound on this one so that we don't hear it when I press play. And usually I just go at the end, and if I want to leave a message to my coworker, what I do is I go here on my audio track, I activate it, I right click, and you can go to record sound. Whoop, and then you click, and then you can say that it's going to be like mail message panel 3 or like scene 1 or something, because it's a message for scene 1. Current audio track at the current frame, and then if I press here, I'll be like, hello dear colleague, I think the scene 1 could benefit from having the characters wear like 5 party hats each, so that this scene can turn into the biggest party ever. It's going to be great. And also I hope you have a nice day and eat and drink lots of tea. And then you stop it, and then when you press OK, here you have a message, because sometimes you don't have time to write what you need to do or something. And if you're in a hurry, it's sometimes easier to just leave a message to your crew. And sometimes I do that. I'm a culprit of doing that. Yeah, so I do like to leave messages to my buddies like that. Just make sure to leave them at the end, because you don't want them to just sneak in the storyboard at one point, because they can be annoying to people. Unless you want to do a joke, but be careful, because when you work in the industry, you have to be careful when you make jokes and when you don't, because, you don't want to mess with anyone. So yeah, so you can leave voice messages like this. And, this is a stream about teamwork. So, I'm talking about the record message as a teamwork thing. But, it can also be used if you have to do like scratch tracks of your characters, so you can like voice them if you don't have a voice actor now, or it can be very useful. Oh, we have someone saying something in the chat. Oh, well, yeah, you don't need to be a professional storyboarder to enjoy these streams. So I'm glad that you're learning about storyboard, and yeah, super fun. And yes, like as Motion said, could you use that for scratch audio as well? Yes, a lot of people use that for scratch audio. That's actually the intended purpose. Leaving messages to your crew is just what I do. I don't think that's the intent of using that. But since you asked the question, I'm just going to make this play. I don't know if you're going to hear it, but maybe. So if I press play. No, not the whole thing, just this. No, not the whole thing. Can you just play this, please? Well, I guess I'll just put it at the beginning. Then you press play. You hear the wonderful audio. You can take that audio and you can go to plus and have the audio rack. FX stack. Yeah, FX stack. And with the FX stack, you can even like give effects to your voice clips. So that's kind of neat. So it can be used for scratch track. I can't say that word. Scratch tracks. But you can also do your professional sound design in Storyboard Pro. I've done it several times, and it's just so helpful to be able to do the sound as you do the animatics. I understand that in the industry, doing boards, animatics, and sound are 3 different jobs. But when you work on your own and you are your own production team, I appreciate being able to do everything in the same software, right? Because that's also a big debate. Like, storyboarders should be storyboarding. They should not be doing everything if you're working on like 30 minutes episode. But if you work on indie games or on indie projects, yes, you get to wear multiple hats, because there's not 30 people in the crew, there's 5, right? So for small projects, I do believe that it's important that a storyboarder can be able to storyboard, do animatics, and do sound, because that's the nature of indie projects and small projects. You wear many hats, and that's fun. If you work in the industry and you board for a show and you're asked to do storyboards, animatics, and sound design, either there's a problem or you better be compensated for it, because it's 3 jobs and it should be treated as 3 jobs. So all the tips I'm giving is, yes, to work with other people, but also to work better as a team, just with yourself and just managing your time better. And yeah, so being able to do everything in the same software, pretty darn great if you're a one-man band. So yeah, you can use the FX stack to just do your effects. So you can change the pitch, you can add delay if it's in a cave, or add reverb and something. It's pretty cool to work like that. And the last thing, oh yeah, we still have 10 minutes. It's perfect. I'm right on time. I'm going to check the chat. And the last thing we're going to talk about is project management. Okay. Whew. So the last thing I wanted to talk about today is project management. So project management can look scary and boring, but I swear it's very important and very fun when you get used to it. If you want to know more about project management, I have the documentations right there that sorry, I was sending in the links that we can share in the chat. There we go. Because for some reason, Twitch is not letting me post things. Oops. Oh, I sent them to the wrong person. Okay, so I was about to share with you the little pages for you, but I shared, there they are. So it's to show you about the project management, because it's a bit more complicated. So it's always better to have little helping documents. So I'm going to show you this right now. So online we have a page about it. And the project management is very great because it allows you to split, extract, and link and merge your project. And by that, I mean, if you have a big episode of like 22 minutes, sometimes maybe your computer is not going to take it, or maybe it's too much to handle on your own. So if you have a project, I will save it. And then you can go to File, Project Management. You go to Split is going to split your board in two at the given point. Extract is going to take a scene and kind of extract it from your project. You can either remove it or just extract it like a copy paste. So it's either cut paste or copy paste. And if I do that, so I'm going to export one of my scene, extract, I mean one of my scenes. So I'm going to extract this one. And, you know, it's my scene number 3, which is why it's important to name your scenes. It's always easier to navigate and stuff. I will extract the selected scene and drop it somewhere. So I'm going to drop it here in my folder. And here it is. And then if I go here, you can remove extracted scene from your current project, or you can leave it there, but I will not remove it. I'm going to leave it there. And then you can link the extracted project. So what is important, what is interesting with the link project is that if I press OK, now it's exported. If I go grab it, I put it on my desktop. So give me 1 second. I'm going to go and get it. I will open the scene. Give it a little second. And if I make a change in that scene, I can then remerge the panels in the old project that I had. So you see here, I have my, oops. Here I have my whole project. And now in here, I have just the scene that I had. And the timestamps already starts at 4 because it was 4 seconds in. So then if I do that and I change something, so let's say I'm going to take my drawing and I'm going to change my drawing, and I'm going to give it hair and like a little like shirt or something. Now it's a working man, I guess. And If I do that and I save, if I close it and I go back to my project, I can go to project management, and you can merge modified panels. So I'm gonna grab my scene that was on my desktop, and I'm gonna merge. Merge successfully completed. And that's it. So I'm gonna go here, and you see my drawings got updated. So it's very, very easy to work as a team with that feature. So let me see the chat, what you guys have to say. Okay, we don't have any question. I'm gonna check out YouTube's. All right, YouTube is under control as well. So then I'm gonna show you lastly, I've been doing the operation from the project management view. Not view, toolbar here, tab. I can't speak English today, the tab. But all that can also be found in a very cool view dedicated to this. I think the view came out with Storyboard Pro 20. So if you have earlier versions, I don't think it's there. It's got a project management view, and this will allow you to manipulate your scenes like that. So you see here, it's yellow because the project was modified since it was last merged. And if I have more, you can manipulate them too. You can, and all the information I had before there are there too. And you can also refresh this to make sure that it's working and stuff. So it's very, very easy to work as a team like that. So does anyone have any questions about this? Because we have 5 minutes left. Oh no, I closed the YouTube window. Let me go back. I have to go back. I'm sorry, everyone. Silly me. Boom, boom. Oh, there we go. Okay. Hope you cannot hear my typing too loud. I know I have a loud keyboard. Oh, now Twitch is letting me write. That's great. Okay. Yeah, so if there's no questions, I will just show you one more thing. What I'm going to show is that when you work with your team, don't forget to keep your things very clean. So if you start to see that your project is getting a bit heavy, don't forget to take your artwork. And sometimes I don't have that problem, I guess, because with the years of doing art, when you're an artist that draws a lot for projects, you kind of you grow what we call a steady hand. So if I were drawing wings like that, I can just draw them in very few strokes. Same with the hair here, like this is just one big stroke. And learning how to have a steady hand, especially in animations and especially in storyboard, is very important, because if you have to draw fast, and being able to draw a hair strand like this instead of having to do this. See how much more time this is taking? And not only time, look at how much vector this is going to be in comparison. Oops. Here I have a few vector points, but here all these strokes are going to have many vector points. And this is just one line, and this is a bunch of lines. So if you want to work in animation or in storyboard, work on your steady handing. To have a steady hand, some practice that I recommend is having a sketchbook, and that sketchbook is only you can only use a how do we call them, the ballpoint pen, for example, like no eraser, no nothing, and you can only use like Sharpies or a ballpoint pen, and just to try to practice, like maybe draw from life or draw pictures or just draw very loose and try to work on your strength as when you draw. So to be able to have strength in your stroke, because this is more clear than this. And also in terms of like vector counts, one is very heavy and one is not. So, this comes with mileage. This comes with time. Don't worry if you still have a hairy line and all that. And sometimes people in the industry are going to be there for 20 years and they still have a more hairy line, and that's okay. It's not everybody needs to have a steady hand. I'm just saying it from experience. It's better if you can work in your confidence. That's what I was looking for, like confidence in your stroke. But if you have a very, very hairy line like this, just don't forget to try as much as possible to flatten your artwork. Because if you work as a team, you don't want your scenes to be very heavy for your colleagues, right? So you go to your tool properties and you flatten your artwork as much as you can. So this is going to unite most of your strokes and make them less heavy. So the flatten option is this one. And you can also find it in actually, it's just there, but you can like give it a shortcut if you want. And well, with that, it's already time for me to leave. So I'm going to check the chat one last time. Once you're done with your scene, do you export them as Toon Boom files or as reference animatic? Oh, that's very important. So I'm going to go overboard for a minute. When you export your project to Harmony, then you have two choices. Either you have rendered animatic or original scene. In general, I do rendered animatic because then when you get into Harmony, you start from scratch. Everything is simple. You don't have any problems with your maybe camera movement or your peg movement and stuff. And if you have, in some shows, I think it's easier. But if you're very at ease with Storyboard Pro and you want to speed things up and you're very careful about your layers, because if you have a lot of layers and lots of keyframes and nothing is organized and makes sense and you're not careful, you better do rendered animatic because it's going to scrap all that and just give you a video you can animate on top. But if you're very crafty and you know your way around Storyboard Pro very well and you're an organized fella, original scene can be very interesting because then it's going to export your layers already in Harmony. So then you can maybe start from there to work and stuff. So can be useful, but original scene, I'd be careful if you're starting out with Storyboard Pro. Maybe there's mistakes you're going to do that are going to carry on in your Harmony project, such as like moving your camera a weird way, putting too many keyframes and making weird stuff. So be careful if you're starting out. But if you know what you're doing, it's a very useful tool. And with that, I will see you again in another stream. And if you want to see more of me, I have a YouTube channel where I stream almost every day, so you can just also hang out there. And if you have not already, subscribe to this channel, either on Twitch or on YouTube, because Toon Boom hosts Twitch and YouTube streams almost every week. I think it is every week. Yeah, it is every week. And we have amazing guests that come over and help us deliver some cool little animation inside. And I hope you have a good week, and I'll see you again in another stream. Goodbye.